Milk, please. Milk, please.
2 cups.
Thank you. 2 cups. Yeah, so you got that right.
Wait, so for this part, we're gonna start there, right?
Yeah.
Then I'll come and chat in, like the
Prime, everybody. Prime.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Much appreciated.
Let's take a sip.
Wow, that is delicious. All right, we're ready? We're ready, everybody? All right, everybody. Welcome to the Bonus with Focus podcast. I'm your host, Focus, and today I'm here with some very special guests in the studio. We've got Lucas, Paul, and me, and joining us online over Zoom, we've got Hui as well. Lucas, why don't you introduce yourself first?
Hey everyone, I'm Lucas, your co-host for today, and I'm really looking forward to breaking down Chernobyl with the team. So let's get right into it.
Awesome. Paul and Meaty, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi there, I'm Paul.
Give a minute for
I'm
them.
a friend of Focus and Lucas, and they invited me to come to the podcast. They knew I love Chernobyl, and I just had to come.
I'm Meaty, and I play for the movie Chernobyl.
Wow, that was great, right?
All
All
right.
right. And Hui, even though you're on Zoom, we still want to hear from you. So give the listeners a quick intro. What was that? Hui? Hello?
Can't really pick it up.
Hui, it seems like you're lagging. Well, alright, Hui. We'll get back to you. Alright, now that everyone knows who's here, let's dive into our first topic, the HBO miniseries Chernobyl. Instead of just retelling the story scene by scene, we want to talk about why this show hits so hard. What makes it stand out from other disaster shows? It's not just because it's based on a real nuclear accident. For me, it's the atmosphere, the fear, the silence, and the pressure to hide the truth instead of admitting what really happened. When you watch it, everything feels heavy and tense. It's not a fast-paced action series with heroes and cool explosions.
Definitely not.
Right. It feels real, like you're watching ordinary people trying to do their jobs while the whole system around them is slowly falling apart. A lot of shows try to make disasters look epic or overly dramatic. Chernobyl does the complete opposite, and it makes you feel uncomfortable on purpose. There are long, quiet scenes where you just sit with the characters and feel how scared, confused, or powerless they are. And I think that's one big reason why it became so popular. It doesn't just entertain you. It sticks in your head and makes you think afterwards. So before we get into our specific roles and the scenes we'll talk about today, I want to throw out a question for all of you. To everyone, each and every one of you, even you guys at home who's watching. And Hui, you can jump in on this too, from Zoom, but you're quite laggy right now, so we'll wait. My question is, why do you think people enjoy watching stories about real tragedies, even when they're dark, stressful, and pretty depressing? Is it because they want to understand history better? Because it makes them feel grateful for their own lives? Or is it more about seeing how humans react under extreme pressure? Now, I want everybody to keep that question in your mind as we go through the episodes, because each and every part of this series isn't just about what happened in Chernobyl, but what it says about human nature, about big systems like governments and institutions, and about the choices people make when they have to pick between truth and safety and power.
So when I first acted in the movie Chernobyl, the thing that hit me the hardest was how real everything felt. not just because it's based on the actual event, but because the show doesn't exaggerate anything. There aren't loud explosions everywhere, no Hollywood-style chaos. It's quiet, slow, and honestly, kind of terrifying because of that. The show does this thing where even small moments feel dangerous. A firefighter touching debris, a worker coughing, someone standing on the roof. Everything looks normal, but you know something is really wrong. Oh, yes. Drink, please.
Prime.
I think the realism is what is so disturbing. It's not trying to entertain you, it's showing how the ordinary people felt with something impossible. And it makes yourself, if this was completely fictional, would it still feel this scary? Or does knowing it really happened make it hit way harder? For me, the fact that real people lived through this makes every scene felt heavier. The show doesn't need to exaggerate anything because the reality was already shocking.
Now, in my education of the Chernobyl incident, one of the biggest themes in Chernobyl is how dangerous government denial and secrecy can be. The disaster wasn't just a reactor exploding. It was caused by years of covering up mistakes, ignoring warnings, and punishing anyone who tried to speak the truth. This was a really sad part of how the Chernobyl incident was caused, and the show really highlights how a system built on fear can make a bad situation 10 times worse. Instead of communicating openly, the government tried to protect its image. They didn't evacuate people early. They silenced scientists and they refused to admit the reactor exploded because saying the truth would embarrass the state too much. What else?
Oh. Yes. Melon soda, Miniseries.
And honestly, this isn't just about the Soviet Union. You can connect it to modern issues. The governments are hiding in COVID, and companies lying about pollution, leaders refusing to admit mistakes. It's all bad. It's the same pattern every single time. Ignoring problems just doesn't make them disappear. So the big question for me is, do you think disasters today could still be made worse because people in power don't want to admit fault?
Something that stood out to me in the series wasn't just the science of politics. It was the human side. The firefighters, the plant workers, the miners, the divers, all these people who never asked to be heroes, but were thrown into impossible situations. The show doesn't glamorize them. It shows their fear, their confusion, and how they had almost no information about what they were walking into. And that raises a moral question. Were they heroes because they volunteered, or victims because they weren't told the truth? The part that hits hardest is how personal it gets. Like Miller watching her husband's health collapse. The part that hits hardest is how personal it gets. Like Miller watching her husband's health collapse. Are the miners working in unbearable conditions because someone had to stop the meltdown? These aren't movie characters. They are people who made choices that cost them everything. And I think the show forces us to think about how we value human life. How many people were sacrificed because the system didn't want to admit it messed up? How many didn't have a choice? That emotional
War is what makes the series unforgettable. Yeah.
As we wrap up, I think the most important part of Chernobyl is the message it leaves us with. The show isn't just retelling history, it's warning us about the danger of lies, denial, and ignoring real problems.
Thank you.
Thank you for the refill.
Prime. Awesome. We have Migoto melon soda. Thank you.
Legasov's final speech sums it up. When the truth is buried, reality will still win, but usually at a huge cost. And that message still. We still debate nuclear energy, safety standards, we still debate nuclear energy, safety standards, government transparency, and whether people in power should take responsibility. What I like about the series is that it doesn't blame just one person. It shows how a system built on fear can push everyone into making bad choices, and how even one person telling the truth can make a difference. So I'll end it with this. Do you think the world actually learned from Chernobyl, or are we still repeating those mistakes in new ways? Because the show makes one thing clear: knowledge matters, but honesty but honestly, honesty matters. But honesty matters more.
Honestly, I think that the world did learn from Chernobyl. After the Chernobyl accident, right? People finally knew, people in the Soviet Union finally knew the only flaw of the RBMK 1000 reactor, which was the reactor situated in Chernobyl, in reactor number 4. Again, yeah, I think the world learned.
It definitely did.
We did. Alright, everybody. That's where we're gonna wrap up today's episode of Bonus with Focus. First of all, I would like to thank everyone listening or watching right now. We spent this episode talking about Chernobyl, but really, we've been talking about people, about fear, responsibility, truth, and what happens when systems fails us. Shows like this aren't just entertainment. They remind us that behind every disaster, there are real lives, real families, and real consequences that don't just disappear when the credits roll. So if this episode made you think, or even just made you feel something for the people who lived through it, then it's already done more than just fill your time. Huge thanks to Lucas, Paul, and Meaty, and of course Hui, joining us all the way from Zoom. And thank you, seriously, thank you for choosing to spend your time with us. If you enjoyed this conversation, share it with a friend, keep the discussion going, and maybe take a moment to appreciate the quiet, normal parts of your own life. This has been Bonus with Focus. I'm Focus, and we'll see you in the next episode. Thank you.